I am a student at Dundee and Angus College studying zoo animal behaviour and welfare. I have been studying the silvery-cheeked hornbill within Camperdown Zoo. With the help of the zookeepers, I have found out interesting information and facts that will be shared throughout this documentary. The 5 Freedoms. The 5 Freedoms were first proposed in Britain in 1960s. They were brought up from an inquiry of the welfare of animals that were kept in intensive farming conditions. The Farm Animal Welfare Council, established by the British government in the late 1970s to advise changes for farm animals, afterwards declared the 5 Freedoms. The council was made up of individuals with connections to husbandry, farmers, animal farming company directors and veterinary surgeons. Other bodies concerned with animal welfare have approved the freedoms, and they form the basis of all current welfare legislations. The Act aims to ensure that animals that are kept in zoos have been provided with suitable enclosures to provide an opportunity to express most of their natural behaviour. A zoo is defined as being an establishment where wild animals are kept for presentation, to which members of the public have access, with or without charge, for admission, 7 or more days in a period of 12 consecutive months. This definition is applied to traditional urban zoos, safari parks and small specialist collections, such as butterfly houses and aquariums. BIAZA. The promotion of good welfare for zoo animals is a priority which BIAZA takes very seriously. Their members meet the needs of animals in their care by understanding what constitutes good animal welfare and by providing appropriate housing and husbandry. BIAZA. BIAZA is committed to promoting the positive welfare of animals, not only in their member institution, but also through supporting zoos and aquariums. They have a proactive approach to animal welfare scientific research. The BIAZA Academy organises a range of zoo and aquarium focused professional training, including animal welfare based workshops and courses. They also have a programme such as EEP's European Endangered Species Programme. EEP's European Endangered Species Programme. The EEP is the most intensive population management system used within European zoos and aquariums. Each species managed by EEPs has a coordinator and a species committee who are responsible for collecting the data for their designated species across Europe. They must produce a stud book to analyse the genetics and decide on the future management for the species. The coordinator makes decisions with the assistance of the committee about which animals should be transferred between zoos and which should breed. WAZA. WAZA provides support for species conservation, management and husbandry of animals and human care, while encouraging the highest standards in member institutions. WAZA has formed partnerships with leading international conservation organisations, committing its members to tackling global issues such as illegal wildlife trade, marine litter, sustainable palm oil and climate change. Responsibilities of a zookeeper. Zookeepers must use ESB, European Stud Books. which is a slightly less intensive method of population management. In the stud books are records of deaths, births and transfers. The data is analysed to see if a species is doing well. These records should be maintained by a stud bookkeeper, although any zookeeper and vet could access and update the information. This could also be accomplished by using ZIMS. ZIMS. ZIMS is considered to be the world standard animal care and management software. It has animal husbandry and veterinary modules merged into a master database that includes millions of records on more than 22,000 species and 10 million individual animals. Welfare, good and bad. Animal welfare is how an animal is coping with the conditions in which it lives. Good welfare. Healthy. Comfortable. Safe. Able to express natural behaviour. Bad welfare. Suffering from pain. Scared. Distressed. Weak. Overweight or underweight. The resource-based indicators are variables that are measured by the animal's environment. The animal-based indicators are variables that are measured directly in animals, such as changes in behaviour, appearance and health. The animals I have researched are the silvery-cheeked hornbills, Caesar and Cleo. Hornbills live in the forests of Africa and Asia. Their favourite foods to eat in the wild are fruits such as figs and small vertebrates such as frogs and lizards. Hornbills can fly large distances to get to new fruiting trees. They can also live in different habitats to survive from things such as forest destruction. In captivity, hornbills are given meat and fruits so they can gather their natural nutrients. The meat is thrown to the birds to mimic them catching prey while flying. Foods that are left are placed on their feeding bench and their fruits are put into trays. In zoos, it is important to look for factors that could lead to uncharacteristic behaviours. If a wild animal becomes dependent on humans for food and comfort, they are less likely to survive as their hunting and foraging skills diminish. These can present differently in carnivores than they do in herbivores. An example of this would be hand feeding or handling porcupines would lead them to enjoy human company. Not pairing up or over-socialising porcupines could lead to shredding of their quills. In captivity, animals may face several challenges which evolution has not prepared them for, and stops the animal from achieving their natural behaviour. The lack of climate, diet, size of their enclosure and the need to rely on humans can cause animals to feel stressed, which starts to show stereotypical, abnormal and repetitive behaviours. And distinct pattern. Biting, head bobbing, swaying, neck twisting, Over grooming. In many zoos, to prevent animals from developing these uncharacteristic behaviours, they will have enrichment programs that will help animals to act as closely as possible to their natural behaviours. Enrichment. The purpose of an enrichment is to increase physical activities, encourage species-appropriate behaviour, and provide mental stimulation. Some of these could be anything basic from a climbing frame to pools and sun lamps. Each enrichment is different for each species. In the wild, female hornbills would be hidden in the nest with her chicks. The front of the nest will be covered over with mud pellets, but leaving a small slit. This small slit is so the male hornbill could pass food through for the female and her chicks. To mimic their behaviour, we came up with the idea of a foraging log. With the help of the joiners, we were able to hollow out the log so we then can fill it with sticks and different types of food. On the sides, we added platforms and cut slits for the hornbills to stick their beaks through. Ethogram. While visiting Camperdown Zoo every week, we carried out ethograms and recorded different behaviour seen by the hornbills. When we gathered enough ethograms, we then provided a hypothesis and a conclusion of behaviours before and after the enrichment was added into the enclosure. Hypothesis. The involvement of the enrichment, a foraging log, was expected to increase the hornbills' eating and socialisation behaviours. Conclusion. After enrichment was added into the hornbills' enclosure, it was noted that the hornbills did not eat more, but instead ate less. This is shown in the table below as the average number of occurrences before the enrichment was 4.5 and the average number of occurrences after enrichment was 3.5. It was again noted that the vocal communication decreased. This is also shown in the table below, as the average number of occurrences before the enrichment was 6.5 and the average number of occurrences after enrichment was 0. As for social behaviours, it was noted that they did groom each other more, as shown in the table below. The average number of occurrences before the enrichment was 0, and the average number of occurrences after the enrichment was 0.5. While visiting Camperdown Zoo, as we studied the hornbills, we also studied the current welfare conditions of the enclosure over a period of 3 months. To attain good welfare conditions, the zookeepers have ensured that they follow the environmental, dietary and sensory requirements for each species. While studying the hornbills, we have identified what is existent for each requirement. Dietary. Diet sheets. Feeding containers. Mimic natural diets. A feeding routine. Water access at all times. Feeding areas. Encourage natural feeding behaviours. Environmental. Sleeping shelter. Day shelter. Water access at all times. Perching. Hiding areas. Vegetation replacement. Enclosure securities. Sensory. touch, hearing, visual. While at Camperdown Zoo, I would say that they have good welfare conditions. I know the zookeepers are doing their best they can, but I would like to see some more enrichment for the animals. Thank you for taking the time to watch my documentary. I would also like to say a massive thank you to Kirsty, Mags, Debbie, Rebecca and everyone at Camperdown Zoo.